This Filipino proves that financial expertise and leadership are not just matters of age, but a skill. Cebu Landmasters Grant Cheng was named ING-FINEX Chief Financial Officer of the Year, the youngest to receive the award and the first from a non-conglomerate organization. He joins us tonight right here on The Final Word. Grant, congratulations!
Good evening and thank you for having me, Rico.
You broke the streak of conglomerates, CFOs winning this major award.
Yeah.
How does it feel?
Honestly, I'm still in a bit of a happy shock. We always thought that the application and the nomination was a long shot, but I also knew that if I was just able to communicate the good things that we've done in the organization, and I'm able to reflect the achievements of the entire financial team in Cebu Landmasters, that the judges could see it for what it is, which is an achievement that is probably on par with other bigger organizations.
And Grant, of course, there are a number of C-suiters, right? You have the CEO, the Chief Executive Officer.
Right.
You have the COO, the Chief Operating Officer, the CMO, the Chief Marketing Officer. What does the CFO, the Chief Financial Officer, do specifically for the company?
Well, my philosophy on being a CFO is actually you have to manage your past, your present, and your future. So very briefly, your past means ikaw ang historian ng company. So you have to record everything accurately and in a way that's representative of the truth on the ground. So that's accounting. The present are your operations, your treasury, your disbursements, your collections, your payments, your tax filings. And your future is your financial planning. Especially for real estate, you want to acquire a land and build a building or a subdivision, that's a 3 to 5 year project. So what you want to do is to plan ahead and make sure that everything from your pricing to your costing to your availability of funds is something you've planned for. So that's the future. If you got all three, I think you'll do a good job of it.
The bottom line is, if you're a CFO, you have to love numbers.
You have to love numbers, and it's your number one tool. It's your language.
Yes.
It's like if you're a musician, you have to love music and notes and the melodies, right? And I love numbers, Rico. I love numbers. It tells me a story. I look at numbers and I immediately see, oh, this is the kind of company you are. I love it.
And I took a look at your resume. While I was in Singapore from 1998 to the year 2020, you were there for 8 years.
I was.
And you worked for multinational companies. How did the experience working in Singapore and overseas make you a well-rounded CFO and what you are today?
I think that, especially working in a first world country, especially one with such an advanced financial economy like Singapore, forces you to raise your standards and forces you to make sure that you can perform as well as everyone else in that market. So when you come back to a country like ours, whose financial markets are admittedly not as developed as that, you have a much more advanced perspective of how you could possibly shape where the capital markets are going and where your industry is going. And you also have actually a front row seat into what it takes in order to advance our economy and bring our country to that next level.
Best practices, no?
Best practices.
To the Philippines and
That's
making
right.
it and maybe raising the standards.
Exactly, and just moving it forward and really trying to be more competitive. So if you've seen how it's done by the best, right, you want to see, okay, let's get to it. Even though we can't get there overnight, at least it gives you something to aspire to.
Grant, let's take a look at the company.
Sure.
Cebu Landmasters.
Of course.
Its area of expertise is real estate development in the Visayas and Mindanao market.
Right.
But we already have the big conglomerates, Ayala Land. You have the Robinsons, the Vista, the Villars, no, and the Gokong Ways already in the Visayas and Mindanao market. How do you remain competitive? How do you compete with the big wigs?
Yet we're number one in market share. In fact, if anything, I believe that we are able to outperform relative to these bigger conglomerates and bigger players in our home turf, in our home court, because we are invested and we are committed to that market. And you see, real estate, pun intended, is a ground game. You have to have expertise and your senior managers. You have to cultivate relationships. You have to nurture a network of people, from brokers to suppliers to contractors, to be able to execute and deliver your product.
And it's not just about numbers, it's about also relationships.
Absolutely. So you can't just go in and say, I'm a big real estate developer, I'm setting up shop, I'm putting up a building. You know, do you know how to get your permits? Do you know which supplier has the trucks to bring you that? Do you know who has the laborers? Do you know how to bring your development from step 1 to step 2? And do you know what the price points are that will sell in this market? So it's this kind of intimate knowledge and familiarity with the markets that we believe we've built up over the years, and that advantage is not going to be easily replicated.
Number 1 in the Visayas and Mindanao, will you bring that number 1 status to the backyard of the big developers in Luzon?
The answer is we've started to. We've launched our first project in Palawan, very successful. And the idea is to do it very deliberately and judiciously. And to do it only if we're confident that we can bring our brand of quality housing at the right pricing for the Filipino people confidently. So we're not just going to expand just for the sake of saying, at least we're all over the country, or we're in this province or that province. We want to make sure that we maintain our standard of excellence and quality of product that we're delivering to the market when we make an expansion decision.
And you've been the CFO of Cebu Landmasters now since 2019, and due to your strong performance during the pandemic, CLI secured a credit rating upgrade for the company. How did you do that?
Well, the credit rating process is a requirement anyway when you're going to issue a public retail bond, such as we did, and it was our maiden retail bond that we offered to the market. And getting a rating from Phil Ratings is a requirement before you get a permit from the SEC.
But how did you pivot and adjust to the very challenging times during the past 2.5 years?
You have to stay involved. You have to. And when I say stay involved, you have to have a voice in the room when policies were being crafted, when regulations were being debated. Because let's not kid ourselves, Rico. Everyone was winging it to some point, right? Local governments were trying to see, how do I best balance public safety with economic livelihood? And if you don't have a voice in the room, if you're not present at those deliberations, in these different markets, in these different economies, then you won't have a chance to actually have your say and look out for the local economy and your business.
Give us a outlook for the property development and real estate market in 2023 and 2024 in the Visayas and Mindanao markets.
We actually look 5 years ahead, up to 2026, 2027, and the answer is clear blue skies. There's really a lot of room for growth. And there are over 6 million houses that we have to build as a backlog. That's backlog, that's past demand. Every year, there are more people wanting to buy or move into houses than the industry can supply. So if you build it and you build it well and you price it well, they'll come. And for us, we looked at the next 5 years. By doing what we've done well already in the past years, we are going to continue on this growth path.
All right, you have broken the stranglehold of these conglomerates in the ING-FINEX CFO of the Year award. What is your advice to the next generation of Filipino financial experts who want to be the next Grant Cheng?
Well, Rico, honestly, I'm also old school and old-fashioned. I tell my friends, actually, I'm an old soul. So it's just really put your work in. You've got to know your numbers. There's no shortcuts to it. No. Yes, there is skill involved, but that skill is honed through years of diligent practice. Know your fundamentals. Be good at accounting. Read the tax and regulations. Read the revised corporation code. Know capital markets. So it really is, you put in the work, you put in the time, you embrace the work, and a job well done will be its own reward.
There's no easy way to the top. Love it, embrace it, be passionate about it.
Right. Love the grind.
Love the grind. Grant Cheng, congratulations on your award, and thank you so much for joining us on The Final Word.
Thank you, Rico.
Grant Cheng, CFO of Cebu Landmasters.